Wondering who the singer could be, she suddenly became aware of a shadow across the street, and she saw before her a tall minstrel carrying a lute. His face was half muffled in a black cloak, and all that she could see distinctly were two dark eyes, very sad, but bright as stars. The sun had set, the stars were coming out, and Snowflower was afraid. Nevertheless, she at once asked him whether it was he who had been singing. He said, "Yes, it was I." "Shall I ever hear you again?" asked Snowflower. "Yes, if you will give me a reward," said the minstrel. "What can I give you?" asked Snowflower. "I have no money, and my father and my mother have gone to the farm, and they won't be back till late." "All I want," said the minstrel, "is the little copper coin in the shape of a heart that hangs over your hearth." "Oh, you may have that with pleasure," said Snowflower. "It is only a brass farthing." And she ran indoors and fetched it and gave it to him. "Only now you must sing to me again," she said. "I promise to sing to you again, but not now," said the minstrel, and he walked away into the darkness. When Snowflower's father and mother came home, they noticed at once that the little copper coin had gone, and Snowflower told them that she had given it to a wandering minstrel. Her mother was vexed and cried, but her father said, "Never mind, never mind. No harm ever came yet of giving alms to the poor." The years passed by, and Snowflower never once saw the mysterious minstrel again, and she soon forgot all about him. She grew up into a most beautiful maiden, and when she was 17, there was no one to compare with her in the whole country. She was dazzling like the snow on the mountains, and soft as the blush that steals over them in the dawn, and her eyes were like the pools that reflect the sky in the hidden places of the hills. So beautiful was she that the fame of her spread far and wide, and the king thought that she would make an excellent wife for his only son, who was just old enough to marry. So he sent one of his courtiers in disguise to the village in the mountains. He was to find out whether what the people said about Snowflower was true or not. He came to the village and saw Snowflower, and when he returned to the palace once more, he told the king that Snowflower was far more beautiful than what men told of her, and that it was indeed impossible to describe her, for she was more beautiful than all mortals, but like a fairy or a dream child. When the king heard this, he set out with many of his courtiers for the village in the hills, and they found Snowflower sitting and spinning at the door of the blacksmith's shop. The blacksmith and his wife were astonished and frightened when they saw all these grand folk coming to their home, and when the king said that he wished his son to marry their daughter, they could hardly speak for surprise. The king's son was as fine and as brave a lad as any in the land, but it was settled that he was not to marry till he was 21, and now he was only 20. So the king said he would come back in a year's time and fetch Snowflower. The blacksmith was, of course, delighted at his fortune, but Snowflower said that she did not wish to leave her native village and her father's home, and that she was quite happy where she was. And her mother, remembering what the fairy had said, and how Snowflower had given away the copper coin, was frightened, and she and Snowflower cried bitterly together. But the blacksmith said this was nonsense, and laughed at the two women for being so silly. After a year had gone by, the king sent a whole train of courtiers to fetch Snowflower, and they put her on a pony, and they brought her to the city and the palace of the king. It was arranged that the wedding should be held a few days after her arrival. Snowflower was given a gorgeous room in the palace, looking out on a wide courtyard, round which there were statues and colonnades, and splendid preparations were made for her wedding ceremony. She was introduced to the prince directly, and he fell in love with her at first sight. As for Snowflower,